Assalamualaikum and good day to the organizer and audience. I'm Miss Amira Raihana binti Adnan, together with my team, Mrs. Redia Redzuwan and Mr. Rahmat Abdul Wahid, will be presenting about workplace learning implementation among Diploma Electrical Engineering students in Electric Utility Company. Thank you so much to the organizer of a second Kuala Lumpur International Conference on Education, Social Sciences and Technology 2022 KLISS for accepting our paper. The flow of presentation divided into 6 parts. It begins with introductions. Second one, workplace learning in Diploma Engineering Education. And the third one is implementation, will be presented by me, Miss Amira. And the fourth part, assessment, will be presented by Mrs. Redia. The fifth part, findings and discussion, until the last part of presentation will be presented by Mr. Rahmat. As an introduction, WBL, workplace learning, is defined as a learning method that engages or includes students in real-world employment so that they may learn the needs of job competencies, experience the job culture firsthand, and uncover career options. Meanwhile, industrial training, IT, is described as engineering technology training in a professional engineering practice setting. IT has recently been recognized as a high-impact strategy that boosts student engagement and academic achievement. A properly structured WPL system with administrative cooperative can assist students in acquiring new knowledge or skill. Under work-based learning in diploma engineering educations, industrial training activities are described as periods of engineering education that take place outside of the university geographical boundaries and are aimed at giving students with information and competencies that are not easily attained in their classroom. With a minimum of 16 weeks, is one of the main requirements for an accredited engineering diploma by ETEC, Engineering Technology Accreditation Council, under the PEM Board of Engineers Malaysia. With proper planning, IT have the ability to give hands-on experience with the students even with restrictions imposed such as COVID-19 lockdown measures. For implementation part, 27 students sponsored by energy provider companies scholarship from the Diploma in Electrical Engineering program completed their IT course during special semester academic year 2021-2022. The IT was implemented in 18 weeks durations, and 5 lecturers with relevant engineering background were assigned to perform industrial training visitations. Students were given rotation in 5 divisions, which are distribution, transmission, retail, asset management, and power plant. For implementation under supervision, the role of line supervisor as per below: facilitating and guide students undergoing the industrial training, validating the student logbook, evaluating the student performance, and submitting or fill in the student performance evaluation report within the specified time frame. For implementation under training schedule, throughout 18 weeks of industry training in this company, students were assigned across 5 divisions, namely distribution, transmission, retail, asset management, and power plant. During the training, various divisions' responsibilities with scope and technical knowledge were included as learning requirements. Students were given with a different task that exposed them to all common engineering processes and hands-on exposure that's suitable for a trainee. As we can see from the table, about 18-week industrial training schedule, there are 5 divisions involved. Under division of distributions, there are 6 units for 6 weeks: planning, project, distribution maintenance, substation maintenance, street lighting, and technical service. For transmission divisions, there are 5 units. Also, for 6 weeks durations, there are substation operations, substation maintenance, system automation, protection control and instrumentation, and transmission lines. For 1 week durations, and the retail divisions focus to the customer service unit. Another 1 week focus about the meters unit under asset management divisions, and 2 weeks durations is under power plant divisions. There are 2 units, maintenance electrical and operation electrical. So over to you, Ms. Redia. Continue with assessment part.
Thank you, Ms. Amira. My name is Redia binti Muhammad Redzuwan. I will be presenting assessment during internship period. Assessment will be placed both during and after the internship period, starting with the first month of industrial training and continuing through the last day of industrial training. Students' performance will be regularly evaluated throughout the internship time. The supervisor from the industry and a visiting lecturer from UNITEN will both evaluate the candidate according to 4 main criteria below. First is logbook, second oral presentation, third is students' performance evaluation, and finally, final report. One of the written reports necessary for the assessment of industrial training is the logbook. The logbook should include information for each day that the students attend their internship, along with the date and the details of what they did during the hours of their internship. For this WBL implementation, the students had to fill out 2 distinct logbooks. One is a logbook from a university and the other one is a host company's logbook, also called as Workplace Learning Logbook, also known as WPL. This WPL logbook consists of 30 questions covering 5 departments that students were assigned to. The example of the questions as shown in this slide. The students are required to complete an industrial training report at the end of the training. Students will be graded on the report's content, presentation such as objective, language use, sentence structure, and writing format. The report should be submitted to the visiting lecturer immediately at the end of the training. Now, I will pass my presentation to my friend, Mr. Rahmat.
Thank you, Mrs. Redia. My name is Rahmat bin Abdul Wahid, and I will be continuing this presentation with findings and discussion. So from the oral presentation, students were asked to share about their experiences while doing this industrial training. So they've had several challenges, such as, in this case, the first one is difficulty in adapting to workplace environments. And this is understandable because the workplace environment is definitely different than online or physical classroom environment. So moving on, the second one is lack of access to learning material while doing industrial training was also shared by students, as most of the material are confidential. Alright, so moving on, students reported that they are unable to perform hands-on tasks due to certification and safety reason. So some of the hands-on tasks require certain safety certification. So only certified worker is able to do the task. So moving on, student also feels they lack competency in handling the responsibility assigned to them. And then apart from that, student feels the industrial training organized is very short period of time. Alright, so moving on now, we take a look at the lessons that the student obtained from this industrial training implementation. So one of the main lessons that the student responded is, in this case, they were able to hone their communication skill. Alright, so this is understandable because the student need to be able to communicate well with the superior, which is actually their supervisors. Right, so moving on, they also need to communicate well with their subordinates, such as the technicians, while performing the field works. Students were very thankful for the work field standard skills that they have gained and safety requirements in workplaces. They shared that they have to actively learn and observe the procedures inside in order to make up for their lack of hands-on responsibility due to safety regulation. Alright, so now we are looking at the sentences written by the student inside of the final report. So remember that the student must submit final report at the very end of the industrial training because it is part of the assessment. So let's take a look at the first student. In conclusion, my industrial training has been very fruitful and meaningful and informative. As a result, my academic knowledge and technical know-how have both improved. So the student believed that soft skill set significantly contributed to fostering good relationship with supervisors and technicians. The student was able to experience the real-world working environment in a such prestigious company. Let's take a look now at the second student. Completion of both the university and company logbooks increased my overall productivity and motivation as I set practical goals to achieve every week. I have instilled good ethical values such as responsibility, commitment, and punctuality during my industrial training. So the implemented industrial training shows good outcomes as shared by this student in their logbook, oral presentation, and written final reports. So proper planning from both the learning institution and the hosting company proved to be crucial in order to bring out the most beneficial work-based learning experience to the student. So in conclusion, the industrial training that was implemented shows usefulness as a method of work-based learning. So the implemented industrial training enabled students to obtain important industrial exposure. As a result, the study has offered insights into current industrial training implementation as well as some suggestions for the future implementation. To track the institution industrial training implementation, the study should be applied to the following cohort. This is the list of references cited throughout the entire study. On behalf of the rest of the authors, we thank all of you for watching this presentation.